Today's question sounds simple and totally impossible at the same time. What if the Earth stopped spinning for 1 minute? Not slowed down, just braked to a dead halt, held there for 60 long seconds, then spun back up exactly as before. If you're picturing a calm pause where the sunset politely freezes, I have bad news. The planet doesn't just carry cities and oceans. It carries momentum. You, your chair, your coffee, the air in your room, the clouds above your house, and the entire ocean around your continent are all moving east with Earth's rotation. At the equator, that sideways speed is about 465 meters per second, over 1,600 km/h. At mid-latitudes, it's a bit lower, but still jet plane fast. When the ground suddenly stops, you and everything not bolted deep into bedrock keep going. Relative to the new, not-moving Earth, the atmosphere becomes a global sideways hurricane. Near the equator, those winds are supersonic. Windows go first, then roofs. A wall of air and dust and sand rakes the landscape like a sandblaster turned to maximum, shoving cars and tearing trees out by their roots. Farther from the equator, it's not quite as violent, but anything tall and rigid is in trouble. If you're inside a deep, sturdy basement, you can feel the buildings shudder as the air outside howls east. If you're on an open road, the horizon becomes brown with debris, and the car begins to slide even with the brakes locked. Birds don't so much fly as tumble. The air they push against is moving faster than their wings can argue with. Airliners are luckier than they sound. They're already in the airstream, so for the first seconds, they just go with it, though pilots would be staring at airspeed indicators doing very strange things. Over the oceans, the story gets louder. The sea was also moving east. When the crust stops beneath it, the water tries to keep going. It piles up against eastern coasts, dips away from western ones, and then folds into itself as underwater mountains and continental shelves trip its momentum. We don't get neatly shaped tsunamis. We get wild, chaotic walls of water and foam that run sideways along coastlines, then rebound. The centrifugal equatorial bulge that normally makes the ocean a little higher at the equator briefly vanishes. So water starts to readjust toward the poles. But seawater is heavy and inertia is stubborn. 60 seconds is too short for a full rearrangement. What you do get are basin-scale sloshes, as if every bay on Earth became a violently shaken bathtub. For engineers and instruments, the next minute is nightmare bingo. Gyroscopes that always know which way is stable suddenly lose their best friend, the steady spin of the planet. Foucault pendulums everywhere quietly stop precessing. The Coriolis effect vanishes, so the invisible hand that curls storms and organizes jet streams lets go. Weather doesn't fall apart in a minute, but the seeds of chaos are sown. Power lines whip in the wind, some snap. Tall towers designed for storms from above are hit by storms from the side. Trains try to continue east on rails that no longer agree with them. The ground itself complains. The crust had been in a delicate balance between gravity and the slightly outward tug of rotation. Remove that outward tug, and every grain of sand now feels a hair heavier. It's tiny, but faults feel tiny things. Some regions would pop with small quakes simply because stresses changed faster than rocks could relax. Meanwhile, the clock keeps ticking. Half a minute in, the worst of the initial shock has passed. The air still screams, but friction with hills and forests has chewed ridges into it. In valleys, the flow accelerates. On the lee side of mountains, sudden vacuums rip roofs upward. Over deserts, the sky turns the color of the ground as entire dunes go airborne. Near the poles, people blink at a strange silence. Their sideways speed was small to begin with, so there it feels more like an angry gale than the end of the world. If you wanted a place to ride this out, high latitudes or deep underground were your friends. Then, at 60 seconds, the universe presses play. The crust instantly resumes its previous spin. Unfortunately, the air and oceans didn't politely stop with it. Now the ground is the thing moving east under a mass of air that hasn't caught up. To you on the surface, the wind appears to slam from the opposite direction. It doesn't perfectly mirror the first hit. Some energy is already lost to turbulence and heat, but the second punch is still brutal. Debris that was sailing east is now met by a west-moving world. Collisions everywhere multiply. In the sea, the sloshes cross and interfere. Some harbors that were temporarily protected now catch returning waves from 2 directions at once. What about the sky? Day and night don't change much. A 1-minute pause adds a 1-minute error to every clock that tracks the sun, but the star doesn't care. Satellites in orbit aren't attached to the crust, so they glide on, confused only by where the ground expects them to be. GPS would throw the worst tantrum of its life, but it would live to complain about it later. The magnetic field isn't powered by rotation alone, so it doesn't wink out. Volcanoes don't erupt because of this 1 minute. They have their own schedules. And no, the planet doesn't fling everyone into space. Gravity is 800 times stronger than the centrifugal sliver you just removed. Hours after the event, the planet is a noisy place. The atmosphere is still ringing like a bell, shedding the chaos through turbulence. The oceans keep sloshing for days, creating odd tides that don't match any table. Airline schedules are a fiction, but the planes that were in the air mostly found air to ride. Cities clean dust out of lungs and sand out of engines. In museums, Foucault pendulums quietly begin tracing their slow circles again, as if nothing ever happened. The real answer, of course, is that you can't stop a spinning Earth and start it again without paying a catastrophic energy bill. This was a thought experiment, a minute stolen from angular momentum to see what would complain first. The verdict is, the air and the sea complain the loudest, the equator takes the hardest hit, and your best move is to be as far from open sky and open water as possible. If you ever feel the wind rise from nowhere and the world lurch under your feet, don't look for the sunset to freeze. Look for a sturdy door and count to 60.